Hello, this is Marjory Wildcraft, and I am in Buell, Idaho. I know it's really out in the middle of nowhere, but I came here specifically to get to spend time with this guy, Dr. Patrick Jones, who is one of my favorite herbalists. He's also a naturopath and a veterinarian, and treats both man and beast, and I believe a few women too.
That's right.
A few women, kids, everything.
A lot of women.
A lot of women.
Men don't admit to getting sick as much as women.
That's true, right? Yeah, we totally get that. But Patrick, we get a question all the time that comes up that is, what is the difference between herbal medicine and, using herbs versus pharmaceuticals? And, we see a lot of people that go, okay, here's an antibiotic, we shouldn't use the pharmaceutical, but can we just grab this herb antibiotic and,
Sure.
what's some of the differences there? What's the difference in philosophy?
Well, there's differences in philosophy, and that's a whole other question, I guess. The question, and we talked about that with Kimber, your daughter, this morning, about the difference between a modern medical practitioner versus a more traditional healer, is the question they're asking, and the question that modern medicine asks is, what's wrong with you? And then I got a pill to fix that, or at least to make it quit bothering you. We may not fix it, but we can make it go away.
We'll make that symptom. You don't have to worry about it.
Whereas the traditional healers more likely to be asking things like, why is something wrong with you? Which is a very different question. And it takes you very different places, as a healer.
Why versus what? Okay,
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? And then why is it wrong? Okay,
Yeah,
I
because
get
that's
it.
different. Because your body ought to be handling it. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's really going on? It's not the bug. It's not the germ. Your body ought to be fighting that germ. That germ's always here. So what's going on really? So that's one thing from a practice and a philosophy standpoint that's different. And from a medicinal standpoint, a pharmaceutical is one chemical.
It's an isolated thing.
It's reductionist science where we reduce and reduce and reduce, and we get to this one thing. And they used to send, ethnobotanists, they called them. They'd put them in a canoe and have them paddle up the Amazon. And what are they using for acne, and what are they using for, earaches, and what are they using for menstrual cramps or cancer or whatever? And they'd bring all those plants back and throw them on a mass spectrometer, and there's 40 chemicals in there, and they say, that's the one we want. For some reason, that's the guy.
That's the
And they
acne
disregard the other 39
right.
that are in that plant doing stuff. And some of those are making it absorb better. They're making it have fewer side effects. They're, maybe they're doing the same thing in a different way. Prozac, for example, is one chemical. It makes your brain do one thing. St. John's wort has, a lot of chemicals in it that do things to your brain. There's a dozen. Barberry has lots of chemicals in it that are antibiotic, versus penicillin, which is one thing. And so in some ways, the herb is offering a broader palette of choices to the body and saying, what do you need? What do you need? And the body will say, oh, that's good, and I want some of that, and I want some of number 32 and some of number 12, and we're going to get this fixed,
Yeah.
Versus here, this is what you got, and, get in line and do what you're told, and he may or may not know what to do with that. The other advantage of plant medicines, so there's your broad spectrum, right? And that's important, especially, sometimes I'll get a dog or a cat in that's really sick, has a high fever, and we don't know what, especially cats sometimes, they actually have a medical condition called fever of unknown origin.
Okay.
Codified by modern medicine. Yes, we officially don't know what that is.
But we've defined it now.
Yes, now we're back in control. Everything's going to be fine. But, these cats don't respond to antibiotics. They don't respond to modern therapies. And a lot of times, if I do something herbal, we'll knock that out. And it's, there's getting to be a significant problem with antibiotic resistance because it's one chemical.
Yeah.
And, if you go up to a guy and you whack him with the same stick every day, pretty quick he's going to figure out how to not get whacked with that stick, But if you've got a knife and a grenade and some pepper spray and, a chainsaw, that's harder to deal with.
You're going to deal with that.
So we're offering with an herb, many times we're offering a broad palette of things that bug has to deal with, and a broad palette of things that the body can access and use.
I think garlic is a great example of that.
Exactly.
Because penicillin is just penicillin, or tetracycline is just
Yeah.
tetracycline, and those bugs can figure out how to get around
Yep.
penicillin or tetracycline.
Yeah.
But garlic has, I think they're up to 35 different constituents they know that are antimicrobial,
Yeah, no, it's
antifungal,
incredible.
and the bugs can't figure out how to get around 35.
Yeah, it's hard.
So
The other thing that's really important about the plant medicines is, our bodies know what to do with plants. If you eat a plant, you got all the enzymes and you got all the metabolic pathways, and your body says, "Oh yeah, I know that guy," and it processes it and deals with it and sends it where it belongs.
yeah.
If you take a drug, your body says, "What plant does that look like? How am I going to process that?
What is that?
With
Yeah.
all my plant enzymes, that I usually use to digest and process and assimilate things, and it's not as smooth a transition, and it's a little more jarring to the body. You get more side effects. You get more, rejection, from the liver saying, "Oh, I don't know what that is. Just make it go away." Whereas the plants oftentimes have more bioavailability for those kinds of reasons. So that's important.
Well, there you go.
There you
So
go.
pharmaceuticals, just isolated chemicals,
eat your
basically,
weeds.
and eat your weeds.
You'll feel better.
This is Marjory Wildcraft hanging out with Patrick Jones in the garden in Buell, Idaho. Y'all come join us for another video sometime.